Cool.
Woo! Yeah, welcome to Find Another Zero podcast with
That's right.
Jack Man Extraordinaire. Okay, the man with the boots with the fur.
Yup.
Okay, there's no fur. He took the fur out, but they're boots.
And the apple bottom jeans.
Ooh, okay, yeah. He hasn't stood up, so you don't even know how apple bottom his jeans are.
That's right.
Bart IG, owner, CEO of Project Power Gym that you see behind me. We are back here with another episode. What do we discuss on this channel here? Find another zero. Find another zero means we grow up, we try to get good at shit in order to solve our insecurities and validation, and we get kind of good at something, and then we avoid everything possible to make us feel like a zero all over again, which in theory sounds good, but in reality, it stops your progress. It makes you feel bad about yourself. You feel like you're unfulfilled. You feel like you don't really live life to the fullest. You have to find another zero. You have to go find things you suck at and then learn to get better at them. You got to learn to be okay with looking like a failure. You got to be okay with looking like you're embarrassed because you're not doing it well or how people look at you. You do that and you get good at finding other zeros to consistently get better at, watch your life flourish. And that's in relationships and business and personal development. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't even want to admit that they're at a zero or they could be at a zero, right?
Well, dude, you again, as a teenager, you're uncomfortable. As a young kid, you're uncomfortable. Why? Your parents are asking you to do things you don't know how to do. Your teachers are asking you things that you don't know how to do. Your whole adolescence is trying to mitigate that uncomfortableness of, I don't know what I'm fucking doing. So you grasp on to anything that remotely gives you some feedback of positive reinforcement, right? And you go, I'm getting kind of good at this, whether that be this random accounting job or this type of relationship that I have with this person. And you get to like a level 80, right? At 50, zero, everything sucks. It hurts all the time. 25, it only hurts a quarter of the time. 50, sometimes it sucks, sometimes it doesn't. 80, 20, it's mostly good. You have generally positive feelings about whatever it is that you're doing. And you think, oh, dude, I will never go back to a zero. This 80 feels so damn good. And so you completely negate any other opportunity that comes up. Because obviously, if it's a new opportunity, it's going to make you feel like you don't know what the fuck you're doing because it's new. You cannot pick up something you've never done before and do it exceptionally well. Even if you have a knack for it, you will not do it exceptionally well. You'll do it decent, but you won't be an 80-20 right off the bat.
Yep.
And so I think people avoid anything that makes them feel like a failure, avoid anything that makes them break their mold that they've created for the world to see. You work so hard on, dressing a certain way, behaving a certain way, driving a certain car, living in a certain house, spending a certain amounts of money to make it seem like you have your shit together. And any opportunity to make that not be true, you avoid. And that avoidance is directly correlated to the avoidance of progress. Because progress requires you to go from not much to more. You can't start with more and progress.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So before we started the episode, we were getting into a good conversation that I really thought was interesting because I called myself and the other podcasts out. Because I said, everybody fucking thinks they have something important to say. And I was mentioning how Eric Weinstein on the Rogan podcast, he's a scientist, super smart guy. I've listened to 2 or 3 of his episodes. And he goes, scientists that write science books generally don't do the experiment. They read 6 other science books and then through that information write the 7th science book. And I'm like, dude, that is so kind of true in general because there's only so many experiences to have and time to have them in. So how much of this information you're gathering from the people you follow are their own pieces of experience, or are they rubbing shoulders with really great people and then they're hearing stories and developing their own theories? And, I posed to you, like, how often do you think it's one and how often do you think it's the other? And you brought up Andrew Tate. And you're like, if I listen to Andrew Tate, because I'm like, is that good or bad? Right? Is it good that someone's regurgitating theory based off of the stories they've heard? Or is that detrimental? And what do you think?
But on that question specifically, I think it it just depends if people trust you or not. I mean, I think most of the times people are not going to listen to people that haven't been through what they're talking about, but there are certainly, like, Jordan Peterson might be an example of this. He was never like a fighter. He was never out doing these things. A lot of the things that he says are based off of his clinical work, but of diagnosing other people and figuring out what's going through other people's brains. So he, per se, didn't necessarily go through everything that he talks about, but he's an authority figure. People respect him. People that
I do, for sure.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And then someone like Joe Rogan himself, him and Walsh, the last episode I listened to, were talking about did we really land on the moon? Fucking Rogan loves that topic. He's had very, very high level people talk about it, right? Walsh is like, "Are you crazy? Of course we went to the moon. Like, of course." And they had this long discussion, and like, Rogan's credible in my mind because he's spoken directly to people who have been trying to debunk it or prove it. And Rogan has just example after example after example after example after example. And he has not been there. He's been not in the NASA. He's been not on the moon. He has no personal experience with the subject other than personal experiences with people who have been in the subject. And then the question is that credible? Is that someone that you should listen to because they've went out and researched? And in my opinion, isn't that journalism? Isn't that what journalism was supposed to be? Rogan is indifferent to the answer. He goes, "I don't care if we have or haven't been on the moon. I just want to know if we have or haven't been on the moon."
I think you have to look for people that are indifferent, because it's like the Republicans think that they're absolutely right and the Democrats are absolutely wrong. The Democrats think that they're absolutely right and that the Republicans are absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
And then you look at the person who's indifferent and like just is like, okay, what is the most optimal way to make America work?
Yeah.
That person is someone I trust.
Well, and that's how evidence should be portrayed, right? So if you're listening to, like you said, Andrew Tate or Andrew Frisella or whoever, it's important to, in my opinion, diagnose, is the information being dictated to me as information or is it being dictated to me as a persuasion? If it seems persuasive, well, then it's biased and it's obviously it's theoretically trying to elicit a reaction out of me, and therefore I'm not going to be manipulated. Therefore, I'm not going to participate in this information exchange. But if, in like Rogan's case, if he really wants to believe in it and he has someone who doesn't believe in it, he doesn't spin them up. He actually fights them. He tries to break, the persuasion of the person. He takes a stance against his own beliefs, trying to see if it's true or not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very healthy thing to do. So whether I'm talking to someone who's personally done what they're saying that they've done, or theoretically, giving me information third party, I diagnose first, are you trying to persuade me to feel the way you feel or think the way you think? Or are you just simply putting information on the table to then see what I have to say about that information? Are you trying to presumably persuade yourself the other way? Do you have a good enough argument to maybe show me something I'm not seeing? That's, I think, hella healthy. I think that's a phenomenal way to exchange information.
I think it's really, really rare, too.
It is extremely
rare.
And I think if you're going to, the original question was, how the hell do you blow up a podcast, right? That was the original way that the whole thing started. And I think if you are going to blow up a podcast, genuinely, I think that it needs to come from that stance. That it's not a persuasive thing, that it's simply a information gather and then allows the people to essentially, make their own conclusions on the information placed. I think that you'll be polarizing if you're persuasive in your information delivery, right? People love drama. And right now, more than ever in the history of the world, I think we are promoting anger. We're promoting the illicit negative response to things because we understand that the attention it gets is 10 times stronger than something that you agree with. And you have infinite examples of that. You watch NASCAR, what do they show the replay of? The fucking crash. over and over and over again, right? Why? Because it's fucking fun to watch
the
a
most
crash.
exciting
It's
part
so
of that
exciting.
whole experience.
They don't show the 800th left turn, like but that's what 90% of the fucking race is.
Yep.
And then it's just a small sliver of quote unquote excitement.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't. So I've changed my mind on this relatively recently to some degree, but I wouldn't. I don't entirely blame the news for putting these things out, putting the most controversial things out, knowing it'll get attention because it's us who is consuming the content. You know?
Same thing as to like why you can't demonize social media, because listen, dude, in a free market, all the free market does is just show you. It's a mirror for the people involved in the market.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? That no one gives a shit why you're giving them money. As long as you keep giving them money, they'll keep doing whatever it is that makes you want to give them money.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's I think where like things like I hate cancel culture. Right? It's a big topic right now. I think it's the worst thing ever. But that's where it came from originally. Originally, I think the concept, just like communism and all these other absolutely horrendous things, come from a seedling of that makes sense, right? Cancel culture came from we vote with our dollars, and if we don't agree with something, stop giving it our dollars. I know my dollar isn't enough to destroy something that's evil, but if I get everybody to stop giving it dollars, then the thing will die.
That's interesting because in order for it to go from one person not spending their dollars to a whole group of people, you have to craft a narrative and a story about the person that you're canceling. Yeah.
Persuasion, because it's not enough for me to feel good that I'm not participating in something I don't believe in. Now I have to validate myself and make everybody else agree with me. Because somehow me not participating isn't enough for me. I need the entity to die.
Yeah.
When the fuck did that happen? Right? When was it not enough? For example, people will wait in the weeds disliking something. And if everybody else likes it, they don't publicly state their hatred for a person or a place. But the moment they're validated in their hate, they fucking go off.
Yeah.
And they start publicly going and fueling the fire.
Emboldened to do it.
That's right. They've not changed their stance based on the circumstance, right? They've always hated something, but now if it's okay to hate it, they're part of the club.
Right. And in order to make everyone else okay to hate it, you have to make that scapegoat an evil person or a bad person.
That's right.
Or whatever it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I may not like you for personal reasons, but everybody else likes you, so I have to keep my shit to myself.
Yeah.
But the moment you do something wrong, here's my chance to be part of the group and lead the group per se. You know, my low self-esteem now can be fucking buttered up because I'm the leader of this movement. But really, it's just validation of your own personal, shit.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to me, the juxtaposition and how ironic life is, because we're talking about things in such opposite sides of the track. We're talking about social media that brings everybody together, yet everyone is extremely individualistic. We're talking about I am virtually not or virtuously not participating in something, but in order for me to feel virtuous, I have to be part of a large group, which automatically, like, I don't know how to explain this, but if a large group is doing the same thing, it becomes average and thus not as virtuous in my opinion. So it's like, it's not, maybe not as...
So would you define virtue as or a piece of virtue is being alone in that virtue? Or?
I think going above and beyond what the typical would do is how to distinguish between... See, I don't know. The right thing is the right thing regardless of how many people are doing it. Right? Whether it's 1 or a billion, it's the right thing or it's the wrong thing. There's no doubt about that. But I also know just how life works is whatever is average is not seemed to be good or bad. It just becomes
neutral.
And neutrality can be good, but it can't be, it's not distinguished. So then if, for example, if someone can run a 4-minute mile now, I'm sorry, when they couldn't run the 4-minute mile back in the day, and you ran a 4-minute mile, then comparatively to everybody else, you were fast. Now you run a 4-minute mile, and although that is impressive, it is now standard and ability across high schoolers and track and field athletes all the way around. Are you slow? No, a 4-minute mile is not slow. But in order to be special, you have to now run a fucking 3-something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So in terms of like doing the right thing, if everybody does the right thing, that becomes average. And average is never looked at as good.
It's just so if everyone, for instance, if everyone starts picking up trash when they see trash, normal, and then now the person who doesn't pick up trash is a bad person.
And the person, if they want to distinguish themselves as good, has to do whatever is better than picking up all the trash. Yeah. Creating something that doesn't create trash. Because that's what virtue signaling kind of concept is. It's the wrong side of the road of a right thing, right? Because if everyone's picking up trash and I want to be distinguishedly good, I want to push harder, I want to add a little effort, I'm going to figure out a way to not even make trash, right? But if I have self-esteem and self-confidence and I'm actually here for the greater good of the group, I leave it at that. I go, I made something that doesn't make trash. And that's it. Now, if you're on the wrong side of that same track, you go, I made something that didn't make trash. You're a piece of shit because you didn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Why do you think that we have such disdain for virtue signalers? Is it that they're thinking they're above us and that's really what they're signaling at the core of it? Or like, what is it that...
If you're a leader, anybody who leads a family, manages a group of people, owns a company, hell, even the provider of a family, just 2 people per se. Anybody who's in that position and who's genuinely actually trying to be good at that position understands the sacrifice of self-image for the greater good of the group. And there is a billion things that no one knows that I have done for the greater good of this group.
Right.
And if I go and rub it in their fucking face, that makes me an asshole, a piece of shit, because I'm no longer doing it for the greater good of the group.
Doing it for your attention on yourself.
That's right. I'm doing it for an individualistic. So that's the irony of life.
Right.
I can do something that's great for the wrong reason, and now I'm not great.
Yep. Intention is up there of the most important parts of doing something good.
But again, like if you're going to do it into philosophy, now I don't want to spend the whole episode talking about this, but is it though? Because if you donate $1 billion to 5 different charities and you help hundreds of thousands of kids and you boast about it, do those kids not get helped?
I think that the kids get helped, but in your conscience, in your, the mind, which I like to consider like the kingdom of heaven, is you have a kingdom of heaven in your mind and I have one in my mind. There it is. It has done nothing for you. Like, so on a personal level.
Okay, but then there's the irony of what you're saying, because what you're saying is if I become selfish in my endeavor to help hundreds of thousands of people, then I suffer because I'm not going to get into the kingdom of God. But isn't that a selfish reason to not be selfish?
Yeah, but I don't think you would come at it from. But for instance, I think we could still use the same argument of like, okay, if I had to kill 10 regular people to save 200,000 people, well, practically speaking, I saved, 1,900, whatever the fucking number is.
Yeah, I get it.
200,000 minus 10. We're not doing math today.
We're not. Yeah,
but then that's the same argument. Well, is that a good act, even though you killed 10 people? No,
it's not a good act.
Of course not. No, of course not.
So you would let the math die to save 10?
I personally do not think you can participate in killing, even if it means saving other people.
But you have to make a choice because you're the leader.
I would not kill the 10 people.
So you'd let more people die to save 10.
10 innocent people? Yeah,
they're all innocent.
Yeah, they're all innocent, but you're not the one killing the.
You are in one way or the other.
Yeah, but you're not.
If you have the power to save, let's call it just for numbers, 200,000 people, or 10 people, and you're the leader, you have to make a decision, this way or that way. That way 10 people die. This way you hope everybody doesn't die.
Then you pick the 200,000. But if I have to be the one to
so you'd rather not be the leader. See, that's the decision right there, bro. Because that's what it takes. That's an extreme gross example because human life. But bro, all you're saying is the shit that every leader has to do on a regular fucking basis. It may not be someone's life, but it might be their feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it might be their money. It might be their self-security. It might be their self-being. It might be their family's security.
That definitely feels easier it feels like an easier.
Yeah, but I mean, easier is relative, dude. Because now if, you ask someone who does that on a regular basis, they're like, 10? 10's no problem. I have to make a decision whether 20,000 people die or 1 million people live. 20,000? I have to make a decision whether 1 million people die or 1 billion people stay alive. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, but
scale doesn't matter.
Yeah, but what I think is with that reasoning of like, okay, I'm willing to kill 10 people. I think we see it always escalates, and it always is a bad long-term play. Like within our government, you can find these bureaucrats that make that logical reasoning, like, well, I guess I will, if I'm screwing over 100,000 families, but I get more money, but I'm going to do good things with this money.
You're using the example, but I think it's the exact opposite. What we're seeing in our government is the exact opposite. They are screwing over 8 million people to benefit 100. That's why our problem is.
But I think in their minds they are doing the opposite. In their minds they think, oh, I'm doing something for the greater good by hurting a small subset of people. But then it turns out, and that's, I guess, they're actually hurting more people and helping less people because of that mental model that they have in their brain.
Yeah, I think you're giving them more credit than they deserve. I think anybody in that position knows what insider trading is going to do. They know what. I mean, you see the last, I think, 8 presidents. I mean, they went into office with $1 million and they came out with $70 million in a position that pays $126,000 a year. That is not an accident, and nor do they believe that they somehow saved people's lives by doing that.
That's it. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think people are really good at tricking themselves, like exceptionally good at tricking themselves.
The way you can think about it, I think, is if you're on a plane and you put your fucking mask on first to save your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They always teach you that. Like, fill your own cup so you can fill other people's cup. So I guess what you're kind of saying is like, hey, if I make $69 million and I start 7 businesses because of it, then I'll help bunches of people. I don't think that's what they're thinking. I think they think this. When you go to Walmart, okay, this is going to get me canceled. When you go to Walmart and you look at the people at Walmart, do you believe that they are on the same level?
Nah.
Okay. So then you can safely assume that you would probably not give them the power to make decisions for a group of people.
Yes.
You
100%.
would assume that I would probably make better decisions than all of these people would make. I don't trust them for whatever reason. Peasants, right? I'm not saying if you shop at Walmart, you're a peasant.
You're a fucking peasant.
I am saying that it is a fucking social norm at this point, a stereotype, if you will. There's a whole page called People of Walmart, and we all know what the fuck I'm talking about. All right? Let's not pretend that I'm crazy here. I think that's the same scale, just much higher up. They look at us the same way we look at that web page of the People of Walmart. And they go, if we gave the people, if we give them the power, then we will do the same things that we would assume the people of Walmart would do. They would do stupid fucking things, and the whole thing would fall the fuck apart. See what I'm saying? So, like, I understand what they're doing because on a scale, we all do it. They're just at the top of the fucking food chain to do it. Now, if the people of Walmart would realize that and go, we're not as fucking dumb as you think. We're not. Our values are screwed up and our attention is screwed up. But we're not dumb and we're not stupid. These people, a lot of times, are incredibly crafty, blue-collar, incredible people. They're able to do incredible things. But their focus is fucked up. So that's really the question here. Is it's not that they think they're doing what's good for us. It's that they're diverting our focus so that they can make all the decisions and gather all the resources and all this shit for themselves. Because they don't believe that if we had the power to, that we would make the right decisions with it. And I don't fucking blame them. Because they're so easy that they just give us something like fucking TikTok and we forget about fucking everything. Within 2 days, we don't give a shit that a potential president has been attempted to be killed 2 different times.
Yeah, that's unparalleled. I mean, that's never happened before, I don't think, in the United States. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everyone just goes, huh. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. And dude, and do you blame them because it's true? I don't blame them. We're fucking stupid. We're so unfocused.
Yes. I think we need to focus on local politics before like my controversial opinion is you need to have a track record of voting locally before you're even allowed to vote for the president.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, if you voted on
primaries or what?
No. What's their stances on things? What are those called? What a brain fart.
I'm blanking on
their topics, on their platform.
What is it, Jake?
When I'm Trump and I'm going to do this, and these policies. Thank you. Golly.
Holy shit.
If we just put policies on a piece of paper against each other and you voted on the policy and then they averaged those policies on whose policies they are, and at the end it gave a vote towards a person and you didn't even fucking know, or it popped out at the very end which person you voted for. That makes more sense to me because we're not voting on a person, we're voting on fucking policies. Or at least things that we think that their person's going to do. The issue is there's no accountability because it's a running joke that every president that gets in does less than 10% of every fucking policy that they said they're going to do. And we hold nobody accountable for that. We have Kamala fucking saying she owns a gun, and the next day someone's saying she actually owns no guns. And no one cares. So until we fucking focus up and actually give a shit, I can't blame them for doing what they fucking do. Because I'd be doing the exact same thing with people I didn't trust to fucking focus long enough to do anything. We can't focus long enough to do anything. Because we look for reasons not to have to do anything. As a culture, that is what we have been conditioned to do.
As a culture, that's what we look for. I think we're very much, like water flowing through sand, right? It just goes whatever pathway is the least resistance. I think it's like almost a natural phenomenon human.
I think people's lives have gotten worse since I've been a kid. I don't remember people hating their fucking lives as much when I was 10. I didn't hear adults complaining. I didn't hear everybody being depressed. I didn't hear about all that shit. In fact, I've said this thousands of times. Where the fuck are all the adults? Because I feel like I keep waiting for that stage of life where everyone becomes a fucking adult. And I'm 37 and it still hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But when I was 12, there was for sure adults. There were people who fucking did adult things all day, every day, didn't complain about it, and shit somehow ran. That theory of like we fucked up the universe and we're on a different timeline now really fucking holds a lot of weight in my mind.
What's that theory? I haven't heard.
You ever heard that?
No, I haven't heard that.
Have you heard of Mandela effects?
I've heard of it, but I wouldn't be able to describe it to you.
This is a describing. Do you know the Fruit of the Loom company?
The boxers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know, in your mind, picture the logo?
Yeah.
What is it?
Bunch of fruit.
In what? Do you see a cornucopia? Do you know what a cornucopia is?
I know what a cornucopia is. Okay, maybe. I can't say I've worn a lot of Fruit of the Loom in a while.
Sure. What about you? Cornucopia.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has Fruit of the Loom on right now.
Yeah. So cornucopia is this like horn-looking thing, and then there's fruit pouring out of it.
Yep.
Right? That never happened. That doesn't exist. That's never existed ever in the history of life. Which means it's a Mandela effect. Multiple hundreds of thousands of people all remembering something very specific that never happened.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
So that is the theory of, on our timeline, Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia. And then something fucking happened and we jumped timelines that it never had a cornucopia. And there's some people who are from that timeline that don't remember a cornucopia. And there's people from my timeline that do remember a cornucopia. And it sounds bizarro world until I sit back and I go, dude, this is not how it was. This was never how it's been. And what's funny is my original. I wanted to talk about nutrition.
Oh, okay.
But no. This actually is a really cool segue.
Okay.
What are we at?
We got 20 minutes.
All right. It's all by design, because what you're saying is like it's like water through the least amount of resistance, right? I say no. I think this is a funneled, on purpose thing, because a path of least resistance would imply that we've had a choice, right? And what I'm saying is the design of all of this is on purpose. There has been no failures, and there have been no happenstances. There's no coincidences.
On purpose by who?
By the installations that have created all of these subjects, from social media to TikTok to all these from television's inception, in my opinion, since the TV or even radio before my time. Since entertainment has become the focal point of our society, I think this has been an installed insurgence for control.
Done with malice and done with
100%.
malintent?
Absolutely. Because, and I say that because we can do anything that we want. We've proven that we can do anything that we want. We have technology, we have abilities. The things that we can do for entertainment's sake is so far past the needs or necessity of it that it's a choice that we consistently make to put our resources, time, effort, and attention into. So when things are ambiguous and us as a society thinks we need to fix these things because they're broken, or we need to put more attention on these things because we've forgotten them, I go, that's absolute horseshit. You're telling me right now that in this day and age, with the technology we have and the resources in science and experiments that we've had, psychology, nutrition, that we can't agree on how to feed ourselves to not become 74% obese in a country, 50% child obesity, 50% child obesity, because we just can't seem to control ourselves, because we lack discipline. Dude, we've always lacked discipline. The human condition hasn't changed from a decision-making, selfish standpoint. I don't think that we're more selfish. I don't think that we're more indecisive. I don't think that we're less disciplined or unmotivated. I don't think any of these things are true. I think it's all installed on purpose for control and money, which is the same, in my opinion. If you're going to control someone, you're going to take their fucking money. That's why you get control. So it's not something that we're failing to maintain. It's not something that we're failing to control ourselves. I don't think humans are less. There has never been more gym memberships in the history of the world than there is right now. Ever. Yet obesity is climbing epidemically. How is that correlated? There's more restaurants that serve healthy food than has ever existed. There's more healthy options than there's ever existed. That must mean that the healthy options aren't healthy. That makes sense? That must mean that what we're being fed and being told that it's your fault, I'm not saying that you have to take self-accountability out of it, because I am self-accountable. And when I realize that the entire fucking model is broken, my only decision then left is I have to get myself out of the model. I can't whine and say, well, then there's nothing to eat. No, there fucking isn't. There is nothing for you to eat anywhere that's good for you. Hardly. I myself, and we might need a whole hour for this, but like, I have learned every scientific fucking reasoning for everything, from proteins, carbs, fats, lipids, lipolysis, all for years and years. I bought into all of it. I categorically paired my shit together, timing, hormone level, all this shit. And nothing has helped me as much as me just fucking realizing that it's all bullshit. It's all fake. It's all engineered. It's all, in some capacity, a manipulation of information. And I basically just say I can't have any of it. Is it healthier for me to get vitamin this and vitamin that? And yes, it is. But my ability to get that in the real world is slim to none.
So what are you eating right now?
Just meat.
Where do you get your meat from?
Animal products. From hunting. My clients kill shit and they give it to me. Yesterday I got 6 bowls of liver from a client. that's unfortunately, well, Bart, that's not sustainable. Sorry, I didn't make the fucking rules. I didn't make the society. I didn't make grocery stores and assholes fuck everybody's hormones up. I didn't do that. I'm sorry that's the answer, but that's the fucking answer. You cannot shop at grocery stores.
Well, so what's going into the meat? If I go to the Schnucks or Deer Burgers or whatever, and I'm getting the meat, what's in there that I shouldn't be eating?
Oh, from the stuff they're injecting the animals with to keep the animals alive, right? Because that everyone's like, well, I don't want any antibiotics for the animals. Like, that's so bad. But then the farmer's like, listen, if I don't put antibiotics in the animal fucking dies. Have you ever like had a pet that's sick and you take it to the vet? You want it to shoot it up with fucking stuff to make it not sick anymore, right? So like the natural evolution of what has happened is we've had to cultivate such drastic measures to keep everything alive and flourishing that the quality of what has in it is gone. I mean, think about just how many times the land's been cultivated in certain areas that the micronutrients in the fucking soil has been destroyed. So it's coming straight out of the earth and it still is lacking fucking vitamins. My point is our systems tell us if what I'm eating is good for me or not. And we do that by how inflamed do you get after eating whatever it is that you're eating. And that's what I am telling you, because I don't have the scientific information of this specific fucking neuron in this antibiotic is, fucking up the red blood cells in the cow, which causes this issue in your body. I don't have to know all that shit, right? You'll never know all that shit. Why? Because so much information has to be passed on from person to person before you learn that by the time it gets to your ears, there's going to be some bias in there. But what I can tell you is eat whatever the fuck you want, and then sit the fuck down and listen to how your body responds to it.
Okay, this is okay. How do you listen to your body? Because I feel like I can't even, like, I fucking have constipation on like a fucking daily basis.
That's wrong. Then whatever you're eating is fucking you up.
But how do I listen to my body?
Simple,
how do I listen
it's
to
so
my body?
simple. If you're not having regular hard shits, if you're having really poopy like diarrhea, or if you can't shit altogether, if your stomach hurts, if it gets upset, if your nose runs, if your ankles swell, if you get super tired after eating something, if you get super full after eating something, if you feel anything other than nothing after eating, it's fucking you up. And you're like, Bart, that's insane. Everything makes you feel something. I'm like, everything's fucked up. I know. And I hate that that's the answer. Because I don't have the reasons why. Because I don't have enough time to fucking go. And even by the time I research and I learn all that shit, guess what? It's changed. Do you know that they're not even calling dyes anymore in food? You will not find red 40 in food anymore. You'll find it by a completely different name that has nothing to do with a dye whatsoever. Because people have caught on the fact that they're not feeding their kids dyes anymore. And foods with dyes started dying out.
Nice.
So instead of changing the dyes, they just fucking called it something different that make it sound not like a dye.
Yeah.
And that is how you know that this is all fucking evil and they don't give a fuck. You're not lazy until you find out this information and still choose to participate. Then you're acknowledging that you're being poisoned and you're okay with it. So I used to have such disdain, not for people, but for the lack of discipline. Mm-hmm. I really did. And I'm like, I just don't understand how people can't figure out how not to make themselves fat. But then I looked at myself, as you should always, whenever you have an opinion, look at your fucking self in the mirror and really be honest with yourself. I go, do I feel how I want to feel all the fucking time? Do I look how I want to look all the fucking time? And when the answer was no, then I'm like, oh shit, like I am disciplined and I still have these issues. That must mean that the information I'm operating with is invalid. It's not good. It's not right. And I'm in it as you can possibly be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So then that must mean the system's fucked up. Because I am not saying that I know everything, that I've tried everything under the fucking sun. But at some point, you have to understand that you've done enough to be able to tell if something works or doesn't work. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, and then in the last 7 years, which is when I made this decision to just basically listen to myself, like you asked, Does my nose run after I eat? Do I feel bloated after I eat? Do I feel full after I eat? Do I feel lethargic after I eat? Do I feel hyper? Do I feel aggressive? Do I feel mad? Do I feel angry? Do I feel short? These are all symptoms of your system fighting a toxin as the main priority of the system. And then everything else takes a back seat, right? When do you get short? When is your aggression high? When you're at your capacity. Yeah, I don't have any more room to deal with any more bullshit. And so you snap at people. Well, when your system's running at full capacity trying to take toxins out of itself, you're going to have that psychology. Adrenaline's going to release, all those things. These aren't just coincidences. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me that when you go to the Aborigines and there's an entire tribe where all the animals have basically left their forest area and all they have to hunt and kill now for like the last 2 generations are baboons. So this entire, I don't know if it's 200 group of people in this village, all they eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner are baboons with small sporadic pieces of fruit and grain and shit that they can find and grow. And yet they're not dying from malnutrition. Eating just one thing. But as a capitalistic society, I understand that it's much more, lucrative to tell people they need 87 different things.
Yeah. The incentive structure is flawed.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so with that information, I just can't assume that anybody up there has my best interest in mind. Because it can't work that way. So it's like,
do you think RFK has people's best interest in mind?
Specifically, I don't know enough about the man as a man. I have heard all the media that he has put out, which is, again, a persuasion. So, persuasively, as a human who fought against giant corporations, he's biased toward the person, right? So he's trying to save the person against the corporation. Excuse me. Which is great because it at least holds the corporation somewhat accountable. But on the other hand, what happens when you attack something? It creates defenses against it. So just as a hacker breaks into a website and then that website creates a police network to make it harder to hack, so to the corporations, they don't just shut their fucking factory down and say, well, we hurt a person, we got to shut the whole thing down. All they're going to do is change the name of Red Dye 40 into something else that you don't fucking know exists. They're going to capitalize on as much gain as they can until they get slapped on the wrist again. These companies earn more money while being sued than if they had not done the thing that got them sued in the first place. They have an entire sect of the corporation devoted to lawsuits, and they have a bank account devoted to paying lawsuits off. It is part of their budget. My buddy just started a logistics company a couple years ago, and he has a department, and he's fucking small. Lawsuits are part of the corporate structure. So we, as our level of understanding, think oh, they got caught. Motherfucker, they know they're getting caught. They know the rules. They have literal, just like the NCAA and universities has an entire department within each university that's a compliance department. So they work for the university, know the NCAA's penalties, and help the university not be penalized. There's an entire part in every corporation that goes, this, and this is against the rules. You guys are obviously going to keep rolling it out. So just know that within the next 10 years, we'll be sued probably 7 times, and it will cost us $4 million.
But if we have continued to break the rules and make $8 million, it doesn't matter if we receive $4 million, right?
And that's a normal fucking thing, dude. That's why I'm saying that we do everything we want to do. We do things on purpose to be sued because it makes us more money. So that's my disdain with all of it. That's when I went on that rant the other day on fucking social media. That was my rant. The medical field, all of it, dude. There are no mistakes. There's too much money at play for these things to be mistaken. I'm not saying that every single person in these things are anti-human and trying to fuck people on purpose. But just as when you go through your day-to-day and you make your decisions, you do what's best for your company. You do what's best for your employee. You do what's best for you. And you do your best to make sure your morals showcase through every single time on every decision that you make. And the decisions that you fuck up on, the mistakes that you make are justified because you did the best you did with what you thought you had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how every single level of this thing justifies itself. And then not until you change the perspective on how many get hurt versus how many don't get hurt, do you really end up with the gavel on the fucking on the tabletop and go, that was a good thing or that was a bad thing. And I don't know. I think the amount of money being made on social media, us fucking up ourselves with our food, us fucking ourselves up with our drugs from the pharmaceutical companies, us fucking ourselves up with our medical field, until society collapses, or all of us Walmart people start focusing the fuck up, will it change? Because ultimately they only do what we want them to do, right? We started the podcast saying that. The market is a free market, and it's a beautiful thing because all it does is it's a mirror for what you're asking for. So when we all stop asking for entertainment and we all start asking for health, and we start asking to be able to move around at 75 comfortably, when we start asking for education for our kids that actually keeps them into good adulthood, when we actually ask for respect and we actually ask for some sort of, higher value society, when we actually ask for those things, we'll get it all. But it starts with each one of us doing the things that we would like for all of them to do first.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay?
right. Yep.
Okay. So
start locally. Local as you can within yourself. Yep.
That's it. That's all you have. The ultimate way to tell society what you want is to do what you want them to do. So if I don't want them to poison me with all the other fucking food, I can't buy it. I can't eat it. I'm not going out there and telling everybody to boycott Schnucks until they start giving me, grass-fed fucking deer. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're sick and tired of feeling a shitty way, if you're sick and tired of your nose running after every meal and your fucking belt loops getting further and further away, yeah, you still got plenty of space, dude. You're good.
Okay, thanks.
There's an option, which is disengage. Take yourself out. You have a choice. You do. I promise you, it's harder than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
There's way more wires connected to all your fucking parts of life than there's ever been. But it's possible. I promise. And yeah, dude, it's fucking frustrating. It's extremely frustrating for me. It's extremely frustrating. But it's possible. So
I think that's the benefit of things like the podcasts getting into common culture now is, we are able to spread this message to 50 or 100 people, whereas otherwise you would have been able to spread it to 5 or 6 people,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but that's the problem that I think is there's so many of these fucking things now, and everybody, I think what I just said is extremely important. And whether 5, 10, 20, 100 people do, that doesn't validate that it's really fucking important. Because it's really fucking important. Period. So I'm not going to spice this up. I'm not going to manipulate myself or this podcast in order to try to reach 1 million people. Because if we just fucking said that everybody is a little unfocused and not really into the main points, if it reaches 1 million people,
we would have had to dilute.
That's what I'm saying.
We would have had to dilute the message.
That's right.
100%.
That's right. So all you can do is just keep living the life that you believe is the best life you can lead, and just share, not persuade, not force, not demonize anyone who isn't doing that, but just live with the consequences properly. So if you want to hang out with me and you're like, hey, let's go get a bite to eat, and I go, I don't eat out. I have to live with the consequences with I don't really like hanging out with Bart very much. We don't really do anything but go to his house and cook.
Sounds great.
It's fucking awesome.
Sounds romantic.
It is romantic. It's very connective. It's great. But yeah, don't be a bitch.
Cool. Fuck you guys.
Okay.
Woo!